Welcome to another one of my videos. Due to much request from people, whether that be via the comments or privately messaging me, I've decided to do a bit of an auction tutorial. Now, I'm going to go through how I bid at auction. I'm going to go through the strategies that I implement. I'm not going to go through the auctioneers that I personally buy from. One, I don't think that's important because I think there's individual advantage in finding your own. I genuinely mean that. That's not a put down, and equally, it's my strategic advantage to keep those cards close to my chest. Maybe one day, but let's go through it. So when I'm buying at auction, I use Easy Live. I don't really go in person. I can't say I've ever been to. I've never been to an in-house auction. But basically, you can go on something like this. There's also, I think, sales room, showroom, something like that. There is another site like this. You go onto the auctions and it will come up with all the auctions that are going on. It's linked to probably hundreds and hundreds of auctioneers. I just go through the list and I'll show you exactly what I do and I'll show you exactly what I'm looking for. So we start on the 25th, which is tomorrow. I will go in and I'll literally do this. I'm looking for coins. No, that's kind of cool. That's really funky actually. A belly dancing shroud headpiece. That's kind of cool. Not for me though, although could you imagine? Unsold auction lots. I don't think they have any coins in this, but we'll quickly check. You never know. Nope. And I will literally just go down the list, and when I see an auctioneer that I like, I will just make a note, go through it. Now let's have a look at this. So no, there's nothing here. No, that's insane. Collection of foreign coins. No, you'd have to be in-house to really buy something like that. No, there's nothing of interest here. So let's go back. So that's ABC. There are some auctioneers that are slightly better than others, and also you can split auction hunting into generalist and specialist. So with the generalist, you're going to have lots of lots like that, and there's going to be the odd amount of coins. They will just sell a mixture of everything. This is where I typically get my results. And then you have the specialists where they will sell loads and loads of coins. Sometimes you can get a bargain on them. Typically, I like to act as a big stack bully in those auctions, although it doesn't always work. And let's go through what they've got here. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12 lots. Okay. Because they've got quite a few, I'm going to check to see if they ship. Although we do not have an in-house, we're more than happy to ship smaller items that are non-breakable. Okay, so let's call that £20. Let's have a look. Is there anything in the coins? Well, this is silver. That's a crown. These are half crowns. So you're looking at, let's call that 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50. That's probably worth £80. This stuff here, we don't particularly know what it is. It could be anything. I don't think it's anything of value myself. It doesn't look it, does it? Probably more old pennies and non-silver pre-decimal. Maybe they show us. So I think these are the main lots. Okay, so they're not all silver, they're not all half crowns either. So okay, 1, 2, 3, that's 40, let's call it 45, 75, let's call it. This stuff. Okay, my assumptions were wrong on that as well. Let's have a look. That's not silver. That's not silver. That's not silver. Personally, I'm not a fan of this. This is kind of cool, but I would like that to be a freebie if I'm buying it. I don't particularly buy lots like this. I typically focus on the coins. A small group of sorted coinage and medallions. Let's have a look. I'm not really a fan of this. No, not interested in that. Pre-47. Now, pre-47 can actually work out pretty decent. So all you have to do is work out the price of it. So it says 22 troy ounces gross. So if it's pre-47, you want the net. So it's half of that. You know a troy ounce is 31.1. So you do 11 times 31.1. I think the price is 93. So you times that by 0.93. That gives you a price of 318. Now, the way you work out what to bid is you do this. Now, on this case, you're going to pay £3 to sign up, and it's £21.60 VAT. So you do 3.18, which is 342 times 0.93, which is the price. So the ounces times the price, or the grams times the price. You're going to divide that by 1.216. That gives you a max bid of 260 if you're paying spot. If you can buy this for 200, happy days. I wouldn't want to be in it for 250. You probably got to be in it for 250, including postage, to be at spot. You want it at 200. It's not the best thing to buy, but it can be bought relatively cheaply compared to what it is. It is a bit of a pain to move, but it goes in stages. Let's have a look at the next one. So 20 to 30 pounds. I'm not convinced about this whatsoever. I think that you're throwing money away on that. Let's have a look at this. Not really a fan of this. Looking at it, it kind of says. Now, by the way, when auctioneers put up the description, some of them are really in depth, some of them not so much. You've really got to look into that. Now, okay, let's have a read. So, a collection of coins and tokens, British and foreign, including a small quantity of pre-20 and pre-47. Okay, that's interesting. American silver, George III spade guinea and half guinea gaming tokens. Okay, they're pretty much useless. Cartwheel pennies. Okay, there's a bit of money in that. Collectible £2 coins, including 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I can't count, can I? Clearly, right. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. So there's 12 of them and 24 quid, 50 pence piece. Royal Mint 1821 half sovereign coin. Okay, let's have a look at this. This is interesting. Didn't look that interesting. Okay. That's a bit of a strange one. There's also a pound note there. Crowns are worth 25 pence a pop. You can take them down the bank, apparently. I didn't think you could, but you can, according to one of my contacts. So you're going to get a smattering of silver. You're going to get £32 in coins. That might actually be worth a punt. I think there's enough in that to warrant a punt. I wouldn't want to pay more than 100 quid. Put it that way. So to get it for 100 quid, you've got to do, again, let's work it out. 70 times 21.6. Sorry, 70 times 1.21.6. At 70, you're probably looking at £100 posted for the lot. I think that's worth a punt at 70. Would I want to be in it for more? No, I wouldn't. There's a little bit of weight that you can sell off. By the way, people have asked me why I sell the weight. Now, I'm probably not the best dealer to talk about this. I've just been selling it by the kilo. I've probably sold about 25 kilos. It's a relatively new arm of what I've been doing with coins. For me, it's a bit of a byproduct. I'm more than happy just to stack it on the side. Be done with it. So, let's see if we... Okay. Okay. This is 750, I believe. This is silver, I believe. I think that's in the 30s. This is silver. That's silver. So there's a relative amount of silver. You got the American bits. There's some more shillings. I'm not entirely convinced they're silver. I think they're probably going to be copper nickel. American coinage. Excuse me. So these coins here, these are 5 cents. They're nickels. These might be silver. Looking at them, looking at the edge, they might be silver. So you might have a bit of extra on the American. This stuff is probably sold for weight. I believe these are the 50p's. I would take a punt on this at 100. I think there's value in that. Just looking at the £2 coins, etc. The 50p's, I think you're going to do okay. It doesn't include the piece £2 coins either. A Royal Mint 1821 half sovereign coin. Oh, coin weight. That's what threw me off. Yeah, I'd be in that for £100. I think that's a very interesting lot. Let's move on to the next one. So there's something in this. I'm going to write the auctioneer down. So Summer Girls. That looks like the last lot. Maybe not. Not interested in that. Yeah. The description on these is actually pretty good compared to some of the auctioneers I use. Some auctioneers are very vague. That's all part and parcel of the auctioneer trying to hustle for more money, which it's not really problematic. I know those of you who've seen my video recently, I had a bit of a gripe about one auctioneer. They didn't really do anything wrong in terms of what they wrote. It was just the pictures where I spat my dummy out, and to be honest, quite rightly so. Right, looking at this, let's go down if it will let me. That's the problem with. It's not going to let me. So this is the interesting part. You got a pound note there. There's nothing there. Don't think it's going to be anything. That's an old 50p. That's an old 50p. They're still worth 50p. You still cash them in. I think that's probably worth looking at. I think you'd be very lucky to get 60 quid out of that. It's not something I would personally bid on. So let's go back. I don't want to go through absolutely every lot. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how I do things. So let's try another auctioneer. Summer Girls. Let's try Peoples. I'm not missing out any auctioneers or anything like that. I'm literally showing you what I would do personally. Okay, this is interesting. Okay. This, I'm not interested in this. Let's have a look at this. So you've got mixed world coins. Okay, that's interesting. We offer complete in-house service, all packaging posted by our team. Okay, fine. So mixed world coins to include small selections of New Zealand, Macau, Chile, Malaysia, Uruguay, Hong Kong, Madagascar, which that's the notes, Switzerland, Argentina, Singapore, Mauritius, Peru, and UK. So you've got to consider it's £2 worth of that. The only thing of real interest is the Swiss ones. I can't recall there being silver in any of the other coinage unless it's New Zealand. I can't recall it. Could be wrong. I'm not punting it. Let's have a look. They're the pounds, I believe. I can't see the Swiss. There's no extra pictures to go by. I wouldn't want to take a punt on that, personally. Now this lot here, this lot is actually very interesting because I actually know what some of these are. Now, it says you're bidding on Australian coins. They are coins that are perfectly redeemable if you're in Australia, but you wouldn't want to do that. Now, looking at it, I know from experience that these are worth £1 each, give or take. You got 15 of them. That's 15 quid, 16 quid, 17 quid. Let's call it £18. Now, for those of you who don't know what these are, these coins here are actually very, very collectible. There's a massive craze in Australia where you can actually, they grade a lot of them and they actually go for, some of them go for obscene money. Now, I don't know what the rare ones are, but I would hazard a guess to say that these coins are probably worth £3 to £5 each. I'd probably put £5 on these 7 and I'd probably put £3 on these. So you're looking at 35 plus 8 times 3. You're looking at, what's that, £59 plus some change you could probably just put to one side if you ever fancy going to Australia. I think that's a very good offer at 20. Now let's see how much they're charging. 24%. Let's say there's £60 in there, right? You could get it at 40. So 40 times, to go through the math again, 1.24. You're looking at £49. I think postage will probably be 10 to 15 quid. So ideally, you want to get this for £30 or under for there to be an edge. And also, you do need to get the money out of these. Now, when I say £5, I actually think some of these, my gut tells me some of these are worth more than that. I think £5 is the baseline. I don't have the luxury of working it out the top end. I'm in it to get it in, trade it out. Now, what I would do in the case of this is I would pay it, I'd try and sell these, and I'd keep these for potential adventures moving forward. They're just going to one side. I've got a little pot of world currencies, which I'll go through in another video to explain my rationale for it. I think it's a very good lot. It also gives you the opportunity to pull money off the table and go again. That's a good lot. So Peebles, I'll write that down. This lot here, okay, you could consider this as an equally similar lot to the one you've just seen. I'm not really liking this one though, and I'll tell you why. These are probably worth 2 to 1, so you can cash this in. Let's call that $5. I don't know exactly what it is, but if I'm doing an auction, I can always go back, or if I'm doing it on the spot, I'll have a rough guesstimate of where I think it is. I just hope it isn't like the Turkish lira the other day. I was in for a rude awakening on that one when I had about 4 or 5 people message me like, "You do know they're not worth anything anymore." I went, no. So I know these are $2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So you got $12, $22, 23, 24. Let's call it 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Let's call it $30. Divided by 2, it's only worth about 15 quid. I don't think these are collectible enough for someone willing to pay a certain amount. I think there's too many of them as well. I'm not 100% on these types of coins. I think the Australian coins are a better proposition myself, but I wouldn't bid on that. This is probably too far out of my remit. Again, this goes back to what I said prior in the video. You just want to see if you can get it on spot price. So gross weight is 640. You're going to work it out on it being 50% and hope and pray that there's some pre-20. I think there is. Nope, it's 22. Nope, looks fine. Sometimes they do mess it up. You know, sometimes you get some pre-20 in for free. Good day. So you've got to work it out. 640 times 0.5. You got 320 grams times 0.93. So the value of the lot is 297.60. Again, you go to the fees, and the way you work it out is you divide it by 1.24, 240. You've got to take out postage costs, which is probably going to be about 15 to 20 pounds. So if you're getting this at 190, you just do the reverse. Well, no, you don't need to do the reverse. You know it's 240 or less. You get it for 190. Your margin's going to be, if you sell it at spot, and you have to sell it at spot. So 190 times 1.24. You're looking at probably about 50 quid margin at 190. Could get lucky on that. You could do okay. Not everyone knows their numbers. Most people tend to do. It depends how many people are bidding on the auction and how much liquidity is in the room. Now, for someone like me, I'm known to put 100k worth of bids down on some auctions, and it's absolutely terrifying. But I know that I won't win the majority of those bids. So if I'm putting 100 bids down, I expect to win 20 to 25 of them. And then it's just a case of bankroll management and beg borrowing and stealing. Most people won't be in that situation, but coins like this are a relatively easy win if there's no liquidity in the room. Right, that's that done. No, not interested in that. Not really interested in that. People will go after this, so I think that'll get bid up. So that's my strategies for that. I'm just going to take you into a auctioneer that specializes in coins, and I'll tell you how I will do it on that. I think that will cover all bases. Okay, coin stamps, postcards. That seems like a specialist. I just want someone that has a lot of coins. Gold, silver. Maybe it will be the top one. This is who I bought from last time, by the way. They're down the road from me. I might actually pay them a visit. Let's see what they got. I'll go on it, but Platinum Jubilee, silver set. This will go relatively cheap, I think. I'll probably bid on that. Wait, 240. What? One sec. Let's work this out. I don't want to eat into too much of the video, but right. So you're looking at Platinum Jubilee. No, I think that's insane. Let's work this out. Okay, it's just plated. That looks like an ordinary 5p. Let's go back. It's insane. It's really expensive. This is where I bought the last video lot from. Shark Day 2016. Nah, I can't see me bidding this time around. I think that's very, very expensive. But we shall see. Right, let's go back. Oh, because I want to go to a specialist. I just thought that would be interesting because I've bid on them before. Right, let's go back up to... where was it? I think this will be a specialist, so yeah, okay. So let's go on coins. Now with stuff like this, the gold, as a dealer, I just benchmark it under spot. And I hope and I pray that something comes in. Now typically you can get quite a lot under spot, but you've got to be quite crafty and you've got to be a bit brave. And you've got to make sure that if you buy more than you can afford, you can definitely offload it without taking a haircut. It's easier for someone like me because I've got a business set up, which means I've got credit lines. For an individual, this is kind of hard, and this is why I wanted to talk about the other stuff first. So I wouldn't even differentiate between this stuff. If there's a bit of extra premium in it for me, fantastic. If there isn't, that's also okay. In the past, I would have been buying and I would have worked out the actual spread of the collectability premium and bought accordingly rather than the spread of spot and under and seeing where I could sell in that case. The world has turned and you have to turn with it. There come a time where collectible coins are back in fashion. I find that anything above quarter of an ounce these days, it's not really going much over spot. It depends what it is. There is still pockets like the numismatic stuff. It still has strong favour, but this type of stuff, it really doesn't hit because spot's it's gone up so much, that people can't afford it. So this stuff, I would just benchmark it. And I have won a lot over the years. So, for example, this, we're looking at 200 years of RNLI. I didn't even know this was a coin, but fair enough. So this is a 10th. I'd work out what a 10th price is. Now this, because it's a 10th, it's Royal Mint, it probably has a collectability premium. This might be worth, for example, spot plus £20, spot plus £25. Someone might pay it. So I would probably try and aim to get this for spot or spot plus £10. You know, we're not talking crazy margins on gold. It comes in, it goes out, it moves a bit of postage, and it keeps the machine moving, or at least in my case. This stuff don't really like. These are pretty, yeah, you know. I don't bid on 9 carat usually because of the VAT implications. This is interesting. These tend to do badly because people consider them extremely ugly. So what I found is that you can actually get them under spot. There's a caveat to this. Shipping, £28. That is insane. So with something like this, here's how I would do it. Personally, I think at £28 they're taking the biscuit. I'm not prepared to pay that. If they were fairly local, I'd pester someone I know to give me a lift. On this occasion, I can't see it. But just to give you an illustration, because you may be close to this auction, it will tell you if you go on the site. I wasn't sure if it'd be here, but I would work it out like this. So I think spot was 80, let's call it 80 a gram, just for example. It's going to differ whenever you watch this video because it moves around a lot. But let's go into it. So 31.1 divided by 4 times 80 minus 28 plus that is insane. Let's go minus 35. So we know spot is 622. So you minus 35, 587, and then you divide it by, oh wow, this auctioneer, this is a no-no. I wouldn't promote this auctioneer. I think they're very expensive compared to their peers. But you would divide it by 1.2989. It's going to give you a price of 451. To get that at spot, after postage, that is the price you need to pay. Now, when they say 370 to 420, if you're buying it at 420, it doesn't matter. You're coming out quids in. So it doesn't matter. The only problem is when you've got such high shipping, you're going to be competing against people in the room, and they're going to have an advantage over you unless you can go pick it up. So let's look at shipping policy. There will be a discount for each lot. Okay, that's fair enough. They're in North Yorkshire, so Rideout Auctioneers, New Road, Kirk. It's North Yorkshire. So if anyone's in the area, you probably could pick up a bargain by that, because I believe a lot of people will be put off by this. I think that level of pricing is insane. I can have a whole box shipped of multiple orders from other auctioneers, and it will cost less than that, and it's heavier than that. So make of that what you will. But you can factor that into the price. Let's see what else they got. I think I've kind of covered all bases, but okay, this is it's not gimmicky. It does hold weight, the East India Company, but it's very niche. This stuff, it tends to be discounted. I've had it in the past. So anything that is made by the alternate mints, they get discounted probably to spot. So you need to get them preferably about 5% under. Can be done. You've seen many of my videos where I've got these in, and I'm not paying the going rate, put it that way. And the reason I'm not paying it is because they don't go for what they should go for. They should be a spot +3, spot +4. But again, you just move the line accordingly. Now looking at these are purely collector's coins. 300 years of shilling. I'm not interested in that. I get burnt on that. This could be done for weight, although with the P&P, I personally wouldn't, unless I live close. I think someone living close to this auctioneer will probably have a very good deal on these. This is interesting. Okay, P&P 38 plus 20, so 38 times 1.2. You're looking at 45 for postage. Now let's have a look what this is. I've got from experience, without reading it, I think I know what this is just by the looks of it. I think these are probably 2-ounce coins. If you're lucky, they're Queen's Beasts, or they won't be privateers, because that's a set of 7. I think these are QBs. Maybe 2-ounce Egyptian. Let's have a look. Okay, this is interesting. This is a 5-ounce. These are crown size. This is an ingot. Now, I know from experience what a lot of this is, so I know what the pricing is going to be. And let's work it out. So you've got, 6 of these. So let's call those 22.50 a coin times 6. Let's go back out. This is, again, that'll be another 22.50. This, I'll put 30 quid on it. This set, you're probably looking at 125 to 150. Again, you always work it out the lower price, unless you're prepared to pay it for your collection. Let's have a look what these are. They are QBs. I am not bad at my job, it would seem. This is a 5-ounce. I'd put that in for 150, but I know they've gone for silly money in the past. I think this is a crown, but I'm going to double check that quickly. I don't know what these are, so let's have a look. Let's put that in for 22.50. That's a Brit. That's 30 quid minimum. So you got proof log. I'm going to put 50 on that set. I'm not going to put these in. They're probably worth about 20 quid. You know what? Just put it in. 20 quid. So this is all covered. These are covered. That's covered. Now these, they are QBs, and they're the better ones as well. So you've got the dragon. I think this is the griffin, unicorn. So they're the first 5, I believe. You're probably going to get 75 a coin. So 75 times 5. Okay, that's been inputted. That's been inputted. That's been inputted. I inputted that. I haven't inputted these, but practically we're up to 960 in value without even putting these on. We need to take away the shipping. I think it was, 45? And then we need to go back to the fees. We need to divide it by 1.2989. Top bid is 700. If you get that at 700, you're going to be quids in just by these. I think it's a very good lot myself. I've seen lots like this go for the smallest estimate. I've seen lots like this add another 300 quid on the estimate. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. You know, but it's certainly worth entertaining it, even with the shipping. I'm not a fan of the fees of this auctioneer. I'm not a fan of the shipping, but I'm trying to give you an idea of how I would do it if I was a if I was presented with that opportunity. I'm not going to go into this. I think I pretty much covered bases on how I do things. Let's have a look. I'm not really interested in that. I loathe these when I come up at auction. They always go for silly money. I've never understood why. Okay, I'll do one last representation and we'll see where we're at. Largest sword, international coins from Britain, Palestine, India, Spain, Jersey, Russia, Netherlands, Ireland, Man, Turkey, Zambia, Mauritius, Sweden, Romania, South Korea, Yugoslavia, Poland, Hungary, Mexico, Philippines, Norway, Argentina, Kenya, East Germany, Finland, etc. Why don't you just say etc.? Shipping. At least they ship it. Let's have a look. I'm vaguely interested. I don't think there'd be any silver. Typically with lots like this, there isn't. It's already been pre-noodled. It might have come from charity. It probably has come from charity. Yeah, 58. No, not really seeing anything there. Now the currencies you're kind of looking for, yeah, not interested in that. Hang on, go back a sec. No. At least they fairly represented that. You know, that's not a problem. Again, that's not a dig at anyone else, but that's how I expect it to be represented. I can make a calculated view on what that is. For me, if that went for 50 quid plus postage, would you get 100 quid out of it? I don't think you would. Now, you are going to get monetary value in Britain. You're going to get monetary value in Sweden. You're going to get monetary value in Poland, not a lot. Norway's worth a bit. East Germany's probably worth a bit, but overall it's not the most appealing of lots. I'm trying to find an international currency lot so I can give you the last representation. British international coins. Okay, let's have a look at this. Now this is interesting. I'll tell you why it's interesting. This is something that I've been working on myself. So basically with coin lots like this, I'm looking to see if I can put my money in, sell what's there and have some currency coins left. So for example, we know there is 1, 2, 3, there's 30 euros there. Okay, is there silver? That's what we're looking for. Is that silver? Potentially, it looks grubby enough to be silver. It could be, there'd be better pictures. Let's have a look. Right, so this stuff here, if they got marks in there, fantastic. I don't think they will. If they've got francs in there, Swiss francs in there, even better. I don't think there is. I think I can't personally see it myself. Let's have a look. Okay, I actually think this might be silver. Looking at the edges, I think that is. I think that is silver myself. I wouldn't want to punt it. Ah, there we go. It is silver, yeah. So you're looking at 1, 2. Is there any pre? Okay, £5 coin. Oh, there's 6 notes. Fantastic. See, this is what I like, but also it's a double-edged sword because you bid on that, everyone knows there's 60 euros. Good little lot. So you work out what that is. So what we're talking, £50. You got some other notes. Someone will buy these. There's not a lot of money in them. Not really interested in the stamps. But I'd be interested in this and this. There's a small monetary value in these. We're not talking a lot, but there is something at least. Now, if there is a couple of Deutschmarks in there or a couple of Swiss francs, you know, happy days, but I'm not convinced there is. You know, because when you look at the side of a Deutschmark, it doesn't have reading, it has inverted scripture. I think it's inverted scripture, but basically it's got writing on the side that's been punched on the side. So you kind of know. Now, what would I want to pay for this, considering the shipping's 38? I think that's a no-go myself. You're looking at 50 quid there. If there's 25 grams of silver, let's call that 20 quid, 70 quid. I don't think that will come in cheap enough to cover it. Anyway, I hope the tutorial's been useful. If I've missed anything, please let me know. I'll answer any comments in the comment section. If it's not your style of content, that's completely okay. I'm trying to broaden my horizons. I have had some ideas for many things. I kind of feel like I'm slowly getting in the groove, but I appreciate it's not for everyone. Anyway, take care. Bye.